All right, ready first. Here with the final company lanes, lessons learned, video covering the execution. So this is part 2. We've already talked about company execution, planning and prep, and now we're going to finish it up with the last few points from our AERs so that we can ensure that based on this checklist as well as what notes you've taken, that you have a complete set of lessons learned to move forward as we begin our National Training Center rotation. All right, direct fire plus indirect fire plus terrain enables you to move to your last cover and conceal position in assault. So when you're planning and preparing for this, we have one idea of how that's all going to come together, the direct fire, indirect fire, and terrain. But during execution, as a commander, I need you to always analyze the situation and be willing to change based on the enemy and if the terrain is different than we originally thought. Recovery. As many of you learned, vehicles get stuck, they break down, they have a miles casualty, something needs to be done. But bottom line is, how are you going to recover those vehicles and where are they going to? Well, you know ultimately they'll end up in the unit maintenance collection point, a battalion. But while they're in your company trains, who's going to get them? What do they have with them? And then where is the security coming from if needed? So during execution, obviously initial report's going to come in and say a slant, change to slant, and then the traffic's going to go to A&L. Your first sergeant with the wrecker will go recover that, either get it unstuck and get it back in the fight, or tow it in with the wrecker or a light vehicle back to the UMCP so it can get fixed, get our soldiers back in the fight. Now, before taking a striker back to the UMCP, let's make sure that we have all those infantrymen in the back, the squad, still in the fight. Let's not have them hanging out in the UMCP waiting for orders. They can get their orders just fine on the front lines. Keep them there. Okay, that brings me to company trains. Company trains should be one terrain feature back. They're doing the CASEVAC, they're doing the vehicle evacuation, and making sure that if anything's broken or is required from a class of supply, they're not only aware of it, but they're managing that for you as a company commander. So really, the first sergeant's role, it's less about shooting, moving, and communicating, and more about sustaining the force. So your first sergeant, while I know probably feels more comfortable on the front lines, planning, preparing, and executing against the enemy, really needs to focus on paragraph 4, making sure that we have what is necessary to fight. We used to call it beans and bullets. Okay, forward passage lines, rear passage lines. Some of you did this extremely well. You had your checklist out, you co-located headquarters, you counted an accurate count of vehicles going through, and great markings. Some of you did not. It's not that hard, but we got to remember there's a series of checkpoints, passage points, and release points that trade the battle over. And we've talked about this, but it's a planned operation done by the next higher headquarters. So if you have 2 platoons, it's a company op. If you got 2 companies, it's a battalion, etc. Make sure that you're spending enough time planning that to enable success. Okay, scout integration. We sent the scouts out in front, and during execution, once you get the scouts reports, you need to modify your plan and disseminate it. If you got to change graphics, do that, and disseminate those as well. Bottom line is, you got to take that intelligence and modify your plan and communicate it, and that's been a recurring theme. Okay, once you get on the objective, you conduct actions on, and you consolidate and reorganize. Some of you did that very well, some of you struggled. I want you to think of consolidation, reorganization as a hasty defense, because that's what we're doing. And you have to go through the 7 steps of engagement area development. The most important being the enemy's avenues of approach and movement formation, movement technique, when you will encounter them. Everything else is a sync drill to make sure that we have the element's combat power focused at the right point in time to kill the enemy when they get there. While we prepare for the defense, there's logistics resupply going on as well. We're making sure that we've evacuated anyone injured off the battlefield. We're recovering all broken vehicles, unsticking mired vehicles, and then reporting up what we've expended so we can get that out back on the next log pack. Okay. And the last thing is, once you get that defense in, after you consolidate, reorganize, we have the hasty D, and then it'll move into a deliberate defense in some cases. You need your primary and alternate positions. That's about all you're going to have time for. And you need a hide position. Because if you don't move to a hide position before defending, the enemy is going to call for fire on your position. You're going to die in that hole. You need to get the vehicles off the battle position and then reoccupy based on an enemy trigger that is either given to you by the scouts or you have the platoons up scanning how to determine when the enemy is attacking. All right, what a great exercise. Very proud of you. Very proud to be your brigade commander. Keep it up, and we'll see you at Iron Focus. Cool.